What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Fast. Today, let's get started with Francis Ngannou reveals he wasn't too confident ahead of boxing match with Tyson Fury. Francis Ngannou is a true enigma. He has achieved some absolutely remarkable things in the world of combat sports, both mixed martial arts and boxing. While he lost convincingly to Joshua in emphatic fashion, the Fury fight was surprisingly close, with some even believing that Ngannou had done enough to win the contest. In a recent interview, Ngannou spoke candidly about the anxiety he felt in the lead-up to that bout. I wasn't confident because I have my ego as a man that says, okay, I'm fighting another man and I have the capability to win, but at the same time, I'm like, it's my first boxing match. I'm there questioning myself if I can go through 3 or 4 rounds. If I can get there, I'd never been there in my life. I'm getting to the end of my career. I'm fighting a guy who has experience in this entire career, getting towards the end of his own career. He'd done this lots of times. I'd never done this. Sean Brady won't doubt UFC welterweight champion Belal Muhammad ahead of his first title defense. Brady suffered his lone career loss to Muhammad by TKO at UFC 280 and admits the champion has continued to silence doubters during his 11-fight unbeaten streak. Jack can knock out anybody. Obviously, that's been shown. He's a very hard puncher. But man, you can't bet against Belal. He's gone out there and proved that he can beat anybody in the world, and he has. So you have to admire that, and you have to respect that. And yeah, I'm going to favor him, especially if you go look at how the Jack fight was going with Gilbert until that last minute. So I think Belal has a good chance for sure. Brady's next fight comes against Leon Edwards, who Muhammad dethroned to become champion at UFC 304. Edwards pointed to the middle-of-the-night timing of his fight against Muhammad as a factor in his performance, but Brady says their fight would have likely played out the same way regardless. I think it would go that same way. If you go back and look at Leon's, even from his early fights, he's a very good kickboxer, a very good striker, but he has been known to get taken down and kind of getting held down early on in his career by Claudio Silva. When him and Vicente Luque fought, Vicente had some success in the first round. He's a striker. He has very good takedown defense, but if you get him down, you get him flat, he has a hard time getting back up. Even his third fight with Kamaru was very, very close. So if you go watch that fight, then you watch Belal. The writing was on the wall, but Belal really pounded it in there of like a good game plan. Justin Gaethje makes feelings known about a trilogy fight against Dustin Poirier, heaps high praise on the Diamond's career. Justin Gaethje recently shared his thoughts on Dustin Poirier's MMA career and weighed in on whether or not the pair will meet inside the octagon for a third time. The Diamond has his sights set on retirement after one final bout in the octagon this summer in his home state of Louisiana. Whilst an opponent has yet to be announced, fans have been hoping to see him face off against Gaethje one last time, as the pair are 1-1 in their head-to-head. During a recent interview, Justin Gaethje was asked his thoughts on Dustin Poirier's career and a potential trilogy bout between the pair. I've been a fan of this guy since day one, especially having shared the cage with him. I've been a fan of this sport for a long time, and he's one of the guys I love to watch. I think he'll certainly be in the Hall of Fame. In regards to a third meeting between the pair, Justin added, I've said it publicly, and I'll say it again, I don't think there's any reason our families need to go through that again. Justin Gaethje runs things back with Rafael Fiziev in the March 8 co-main event at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Joe Rogan gets honest about Jon Jones' GOAT status, names 2 ex-UFC champions who fit the bill as well. Jones holds the record for most successful title defenses in light heavyweight division history and has defended the heavyweight title once since vacating the 205-pound throne. The UFC commentator acknowledged that while Jones's resume is unmatched in terms of longevity, other fighters deserve recognition too. He pointed to Demetrius Johnson and Georges St-Pierre as 2 former champions who could be in the conversation. He has been a world champion for 14 years. I think on paper for sure he's the GOAT. Out of just the sheer longevity, I have to say, Jon Jones is the greatest. But I could see the argument for Mighty Mouse being the best martial artist I've ever seen. I think he's the best expression of martial arts talent and technique that I've ever seen. But then Georges St-Pierre is right up there too, and he was a multiple division world champion. He won the welterweight title, and then he came back after 4 years off to beat Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. He's in the argument too, but I just think there's a real problem with saying the number 1 of all time, the greatest of all time. But if you were going to give it to someone, I'd say give it to Jon. Henry Cejudo believes Ilia Topuria should get Islam Makhachev title fight. There are plenty of great names that it could be, but the main one is Islam Makhachev. We've seen plenty of champion versus champion fights in the past, and given Ilia's incredible star power, it makes sense that the promotion may immediately want to vault him into that position. In the eyes of Henry Cejudo, putting Topuria against Makhachev would be a great idea, and would lead to a very competitive fight. I think he should fight Islam Makhachev. I think when you knock out two guys like that, two first-ballot Hall of Famers, 100%, he does deserve it. They want to take the chances of fighting Islam Makhachev and trying to defeat him. I'll tell you what, man, if Islam cannot take him down, or if he doesn't take him down early, dude, that could be very problematic for a guy like Islam Makhachev. Ilia Topuria, he level changes his striking. He goes high, he goes low. Islam Makhachev has that quote at the UFC PI, anybody, anytime, anywhere. It's just up to the UFC to say, all right, man, this is the date. GFL announces legendary matchup between Tony Ferguson and Dillon Danis. The GFL has announced another fight, which they are calling a legendary matchup involving Tony Ferguson. On Friday, the GFL announced a lightweight bout between former UFC interim lightweight champion and former Bellator fighter Dillon Danis. GFL fans, you asked, we listened. Our most requested bout is now official as Tony Ferguson squares off with Dillon Danis in a legendary lightweight matchup. Ferguson versus Danis was a fight many MMA fans wanted to see when both signed with the GFL, but it's uncertain when this fight will take place, or what venue is not known. But the GFL confirms this fight will happen. Tony Ferguson is on an 8-fight losing streak. Dillon Danis hasn't fought in MMA since June of 2019, when he submitted Max Humphrey by first-round submission at Bellator 222. Chael Sonnen thinks Ilia Topuria will have to earn a shot at UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, with UFC CEO Dana White refusing to commit to Topuria as the next title challenger at lightweight. Sonnen thinks that likely means he'll have to beat a top contender first. Charles and Arman are in a battle, and the battle is for Ilia. Charles is not likely to go right into a title fight against Islam. It would look as though Ilia is going to have to do a fight first. Ilia versus Islam right now works, but it's not a massive fight. However, Ilia versus Islam, if Ilia defeats Charles first, is a complete other conversation. It can't go right now. You've got to have Ilia prove that he can do it, and that either takes you through Tsarukyan or it takes you through Charles. Ramadan is starting in the beginning of March, which means Makhachev likely won't have any fight news until the month is done. White said he's not interested in rebooking Makhachev versus Tsarukyan, after Tsarukyan pulled out just a day before their fight. Alex Pereira has change of heart on training with fellow UFC champion Jon Jones. UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira previously expressed interest in sharing the mats with heavyweight champ Jon Jones, but has now changed his tune. While the wheels are currently in motion for Jones to face Aspinall next, Pereira won't take his chances in case the pair do end up crossing paths. To be honest, I don't think that makes as much sense anymore, so I wouldn't want to go and train with him now. I think it wouldn't make sense now, but if we were to fight one day and then go train, I think it would make total sense. If Jones and Aspinall do end up fighting in a title unification bout, Alex will be tuning in regardless. I won't necessarily be studying the fight, but I'd watch it closely. Obviously, any heavyweight fight is already exciting, and then you put in Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. I think that's a very exciting fight, so I'll be watching closely, but as a fan.